And so here we are. Finally, we come to the last of these episodes that I'm trying to get caught up on. Lake House Fever, in which they attempt to deal with the issue that Star never told Tom about her kiss with Marco. And I say attempt because I feel like they failed to do so. But we'll get to that in a minute. This is another simple episode. In premise, Star is visiting Tom at his family's lake house in their weird underworldy realm. And his whole family is there. And one of the cool aspects of this episode was that throughout this episode, as Star is stranded there by what seems to be like a firestorm or a lava storm or something, we do get to know his family a little bit. And they were, when they weren't amusing, at least interesting. Like, I didn't find all of them to be amusing. I didn't find all of them to be funny. Like, the old gremlin-y guy from the wall, was he like the grandpa or something? I don't even remember. Didn't like him at all. He actually kind of creeped me out. And there was something, a little one note about Tom's, I think it was his aunt and her new boyfriend. I didn't really like them either. They felt more one-notey than most Star versus characters tend to seem, even background characters. But getting to spend a little more time with Tom's dad, and especially Tom's mom, who is a super interesting character, was a lot of fun. And I found some of their interactions, especially some of their interactions with Star, to be pretty amusing. The main premise of this episode is that Tom's mom actually uses some of her demonic monster powers to create the storm, catching Star while she's there and stranding her there with the family because she recognizes that something is going on between her and Tom. And so she strands them there together until they can work through whatever it is that they're dealing with, which ends with Star and Tom discussing the kiss between Star and Marco. And Tom is the first one to say it, but they both settle on the fact that the kiss didn't mean anything, so it doesn't matter. And it does, because it did mean something. Like, I don't want to just jump right into being kind of outraged by this. I know I usually build up to it a little bit more than this, but I'm kind of outraged by this. The kiss obviously meant something. Star and Marco both had feelings for each other, and there wasn't any magic, at least not any magic that they knew of, working upon them. Like, it's kind of hinted that the blood moon was working on them, but they don't really seem to acknowledge that the blood moon has bound them together, if it even really has. So from their perspective, the kiss meant something, and Star should acknowledge that. She should admit that it meant something, even if she just admits that what it meant is that she and Marco should have talked about their mutual feelings sooner before it built up to the point of them kissing while she was dating another guy. I don't like this resolution. I don't even think it is a resolution. Star just reinforced something that Tom had already been using to convince himself not to worry about this thing that, while I don't think he should be worried about it, I do think that Star is committed to their relationship. It's still a problem. It's still a problem if Star doesn't admit the true nature of the thing that she did and try to atone for it. That shows that maybe she's not as committed to the relationship as I think that she is, or thought that she was. I'm not even sure that I think she is as much anymore. Like, I know there were some of you guys who, in the comments of my predictions video, is that what it was? Or maybe even a couple of my recent Star videos, who were kind of ticked off about the fact that the show didn't seem like it was going to address this issue. And I just kind of didn't respond because I was confident that the show was building up to a true resolution of that. But this feels very final. This feels like the episode they wrote to resolve that issue. And it doesn't resolve anything. Like, it would be one thing if Star was entirely honest about everything, including the fact that she has feelings for Marco. And yes, she does still have feelings for Marco. If she's honest about that, and she's honest about the fact that Marco confessed that he has feelings for her, and then tells Tom that she doesn't intend to do anything like that again, that she's sorry, and then he forgives her, that's one thing. That would be a resolution to this, but Tom doesn't even get the chance to forgive her for what she did, because he doesn't know the true context of it. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Do you guys understand why I don't like this? Like, maybe they do actually plan to address this again later. Maybe they plan to come back and address this more later and resolve it more properly. Maybe the story that they wanted to tell, it just necessitated that Star knew that Tom knew. I hope that that's the case, because this alone is not enough. If this is where they leave it, I'm going to be very, very dissatisfied with where this season took this particular plotline and how they chose to handle it. Like, let's look at it from the perspective that this is a kids show. That's not a good lesson to be teaching kids, that it's okay to keep things from people who love you if it's easier for you to do so. I'm also going to come right out and say it. I kind of found this episode to be lackluster in some of the other ways that Star usually isn't a lackluster show as well. Like, usually the backgrounds in the show are super interesting, and things like the animation are super dynamic and cool, even when the characters aren't really doing anything. But, I mean, the Underworld's not a super interesting looking place anyway, unless you're looking at very specific parts of it, and this just wasn't one of them. The lake house wasn't a very interesting looking location. And the characters were shoved into what was effectively a single set. This would be a bottle show on a show that uses actual actors and actual sets. The only exception being the very beginning when Star and Tom are lava surfing, and then at the end when Star risks herself to save him from the lava. The rest of the time, they weren't really doing anything, so the animation didn't have a chance to shine. Even the big rescue of Tom at the end, I knew exactly how it was going to go. I was able to reason out exactly how it was going to go, even before the Star ran haphazardly into that lava. So it didn't surprise me. It wasn't super exciting because it didn't surprise me. Overall, this episode was just kind of boring in comparison to the average Star versus episode. It feels like a story that was crammed in here because it needed to be here, rather than because somebody wanted to tell it, and that's a real shame. In summation, in case you guys somehow couldn't tell, I didn't like Lake House Fever. I think it's one of the weakest episodes of the show, at least recently. But, as per usual, I'd like to know, what do you guys think about this episode if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over my Discord, link in the description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.